people in this room, but maybe to a lot of people in the world, is what if Bitcoin, hear me out for everyone on live stream, everyone at the IMF, hear me out for a second. What if Bitcoin acted as the world's central bank? And I mean that not as a threat to the dollar, like you can hold and use whatever you want. I mean that as the most liquid, globally transferable asset that could clear everyone's payments. What if instead, if I wanted to send pounds to the United States, or if I wanted to send Naira to the United States, what if Bitcoin as a global network cleared that, and Bitcoin acted as the central bank of the central banks? Right? And if we look at these metrics and properties, we're not really sacrificing on anything. The cost to use Bitcoin is free. It's pretty cool. You can download it for free on the internet. It's open source software. It is instant with protocols like the Lightning Network, anywhere in the world because it's digital, and you can transact in any size. So you're not making any trade-offs. You don't have to make this trade-off between handing someone a physical coin and using a promissory note that implies debt, right? And obviously, this doesn't need many words. This is just very painfully obvious. So we got the Bank of England, the Fed, Bob Alice. And we're going to walk through, like, what if this was Bitcoin and Lightning? And obviously, the GBP and the US dollar, they're very privileged. They're okay. We're going to swap this out for Naira. First, if we're using Bitcoin and Lightning, we don't need debt rails anymore. So if we're not using a physical digital bearer instrument, we need debt rails. If we're going to use Bitcoin and Lightning, we can remove those. Next, we don't need banks because if everyone has access to Bitcoin and Lightning, then we don't need banks to actually settle these payments and interface with real people. Anybody can use Bitcoin and Lightning. So I'm a big fan of a company called BitNob that we partnered with to launch these products. And we could just, So people in the continent of Africa don't need a banking charter, don't need a special access window at the Federal Reserve. You could be an extremely passionate entrepreneur that cares deeply about your people in your continent and work your ass off to build really cool APIs and really cool services because everybody has access to the Bitcoin as the world central bank that clears our money. And then we obviously operate in the United States of America. So what would this look like? I've got a demo that's live now. It launched about 15 minutes ago that I hope plays. Oh. Help me out, guys. Oh. Shoot, I've done a lot of conferences. This is always the toughest part. Bear with me for a second. Oh, here we go. So what you're now seeing is a normal fintech app. Could be any app. Could be the Cash App. I see some Square guys back there. This is Strike. You enter the country you want to send to, you enter their phone number, you enter their bank, and the account number, and that's it. It feels like a wire transfer, and you're not touching Bitcoin. I'm sending US dollars. I'll explain the Bitcoin part in a second. But if I wanted to send to a Nigerian bank account, which TransferWise can no longer do, 10 US dollars, I get my confirmation screen and my exchange rate. I click send. That screen, for those in the back that can't see, that says your money will be in a Nigerian bank in 1 minute. Which, it's a, yeah. It's the craziest thing of all time. It's like, it feels like Venmo. It feels like a Venmo payment. It's really remarkable. And so let's quickly walk through how that happened, because I know people are probably a little confused. Like, did he send Bitcoin? How is Bitcoin involved? I thought it was dollars. I thought it was Bitcoin. So we'll walk through it. So Bob, which is a US person, Bob could love Bitcoin. Bob could fucking hate Bitcoin. It really is not super relevant right now. Bob wants to send $10. So Bob downloads Strike. And this is live today. You can update your apps. You can send money into a Nigerian bank account right now. And so we at Strike megaphone to Bernard and Bitnob. They say, yo, Bitnob, I got a customer that needs to send $10 to Nigeria. Do you speak Bitcoin and Lightning? Right? So I'm dealing in US dollars, which have the Federal Reserve. You guys, I need it to get to Naira, the Nigerian central bank. How are we going to do that? Do you speak Bitcoin and Lightning? And Bitnob, very Chad, just says, yes, we do. We say, okay, amazing. I'll be sending over $10, which you don't necessarily understand. That's 0.0005 Bitcoin. Do you copy? Can you get this into a Nigerian bank account if I send it over this payment rail? And Bitnob says, yes, of course we can. In fact, if you send us that 0.0005 Bitcoin within the next 100 seconds, we will put 7,031 Naira in the Nigerian bank account. Do you copy? I say, yes, I absolutely copy. I take the dollars from Bob. Without Bob knowing, I send the Bitcoin over Lightning to Bitnob. They're able to receive this physical cash final bearer instrument and put the money in Alice's account. And so to the customers, it's actually this like remarkably delightful experience. It feels like a P2P payment. It's instant. There's no debt. There's no credit. There's no delays. We just achieved dollars to Naira, Nairas to dollars, which is like, this is an experience, especially speaking on the ground people in Africa, that is absolutely unheard of. Like, what's my favorite question when I talk to people is like, who set the FX rate? And if you Google the actual FX rate, so our customer got 7,031 Naira. The actual rate, according to Google and according to the FX, would have been 4,445 Naira. So the rate that we got was actually 60% better than the traditional Forex market rate. And you'd be like, how? Who set that rate? Did the Fed set that rate? No, Bitcoin set that rate. The way to actually think about how we're achieving Forex if we clear through Bitcoin is I have dollars. It's how many Bitcoin can I get for my dollars, and then how many Naira can I get for my Bitcoin. If I'm sending Naira to the United States, it's how many Bitcoin can I get for my Naira, and then how many dollars can I get for that Bitcoin. And actually, when you deploy this into production and you don't listen to talking heads out in the real world, you actually achieve far better FX rates in the real world, which is absolutely insane. And so in this user story, Bitcoin actually is acting like the world's reserve currency. It's acting as the most liquid, accessible global instrument for us to clear and settle value amongst each other. If you want to send dollars to Naira, we can actually use Bitcoin behind the hood to clear that value. And if you look at it as a payment rail for the world, it actually checks all these boxes. It's globally accessible. So the dollar shortage here in Africa, there's no Bitcoin shortage. The Bitcoin central bank has no bias. There's no such thing, right? Bitcoin is accessible to everyone. It's cash final, it's physical, it's bearer, it's digital. It's amazing.